Hello, everyone. Welcome to The Love of Learning. I'm your host, Dr. Carl S. Moore, Vice President of Teaching and Learning at Howard Community College. And today, I'm delighted because I have Dr. T with me. So, Loretta, thank you so much for joining me today.
You're welcome.
This show, just as a reminder, I know you've watched all the episodes up to this point.
I've watched some of them.
No,
Not
just
all
kidding.
of them, but some of them.
Just for you and the audience, this show is really an opportunity for us to highlight all of the wonderful, amazing faculty members we have here at Howard Community College, along with the actual programs that they actually teach in, and to dig a little deeper into kind of like, what are some of the things that they love about teaching, the students love about learning, and so we'll have some fun. So
that sounds good.
I can't help but notice, before I have you introduce yourself, I can't help but notice that there's some props and some trinkets.
Toys,
so
yes.
Might you be able to share, your mathematics professor here at Howard Community College, share a little bit about yourself, and then you can kind of get into the props that we have with us
Sure.
today.
I've been here at Howard Community College for 18 years.
Okay.
I've started as an adjunct, and I started in a very interesting way. I was teaching one course and then worked a lot in the LAC, which meant a lot of tutoring. And then I progressed to a full-time position when one opened, and I've taught almost all of the math classes here. Gone from 200 level, gone to college level, 100s, done some very, very beginning math classes that are now taught by Con Ed. So I've pretty much run the gamut, and I really like the way HCC supports its students. That's why I stay here. Okay. I really enjoy that support and foster that support, encourage my students to take advantage of it.
Wonderful. Math, the world, and this is going to get a little philosophical a little bit, but the universe is binary code at its core, right? It's like zeros and ones. I don't know. At least that's what I think. But math is at the core of everything, right? So it's such an important subject. How have you found, with the variation of it, because we talked about the different types of courses that you teach, what have you found to be the thread, across those courses that really it sparks your interest, kind of excites you or excites students? Is there any kind of thread across those courses?
Collegiality, I would say. Very much so. Let me start first with the faculty. It is very much, Hickory Ridge, as you know, is way over on the far side of campus.
Yeah.
But the faculty really work together. We work in teams as far as coordinating courses. We work in teams if we have a question, arguing back and forth, hey, should we teach this? Should we go with this approach to things? So there's a big discussion within the division of various topics in math, also different programs. And then we bring that also to our students. In a lot of the classes, we do breakout rooms. I was just talking with our guide here, promoter.
You have to show yourself on camera one day.
Radio man.
Yeah, a radio person.
We work in breakout rooms, and that's a one-on-one with the students. And we make ourselves known when our office hours are, and all of us have by appointment as well as our stated office hours. So I think the collegiality is the strongest thing. I asked some math tutors, because we do have tutoring here as well. No charge. We have it in the LAC, 1 hour a week.
And the LAC stands for?
Learning Assistance Center.
Yes.
That's where that was also where I started.
Okay, and sorry to cut you off there.
That's fine. Good to promote it. So we have tutoring there, but we also have a math center in the Hickory Ridge building where you can go for any course, for help with even computer programs. And that's really helpful too. And the students who are good at math, who take some of the upper level courses, they come together and they call it an unofficial math club because they get to challenge each other in their disciplines. And that's a really, really helpful thing for them as they progress in their studies, to have that collegiality and discuss the math with one another. So that's the
That's yeah.
uniting force, I would
That's
say.
pretty awesome, and it's not one that I was anticipating, but it makes so much sense because it's like it's faculty, as I'm just reflecting back to you, faculty are engaged with each other, and students are engaged with each other, and obviously the faculty. So it's that engagement, the collegiality that you mentioned. That's awesome. Now, for you as a math faculty, what is it that you is beyond the collegiality? What attracted you to actual math, or what keeps you kind of driven beyond the collegiality? Is it anything? Is it are you a number? You like numbers, or is it you like the logic of it? What is it that you love about it?
I like that you get an answer,
Right, there are answers,
but that there are so many different paths to it. And I really like that there are indeed so many paths to it. There is so much as far as applications that we can show our students.
Okay.
I was telling my students in linear algebra this morning that matrices are behind their video games, as they have their avatar walk past a scene and it looks like 3D as though you're walking
There's
past.
some matrices behind that.
That's matrices. When you go to Photoshop and you make your oranges blue and your apples fuchsia pink, that's matrices.
Numbers, yeah,
and,
yeah.
And in fact, we get into, and I have a program that the students use when they're in linear algebra honors, that they actually get to do that. We color parrots different way by highlighting the colors, swapping reds and blues, and see what that does to the picture. Gray it all out and see what happens there. All matrices.
Wow.
So
wow.
the many applications as well as the many paths to that answer.
I love that. And there's another thread here. So you know what's interesting? The calculator, right? Which which is an interesting piece, and I'm going to relate it to a current event. So there are a lot of individual folks talking about. There's this what do they call it? A large language model with AI. It's called ChatGPT.
Yes.
It's basically it's this for the viewers. It's like think of Siri on steroids, right? Where you can just ask it anything and it does anything for you. And what's one interesting thing that I think the owner or the founder or whatever the company said, people said the same thing about the calculator when it came out. What's going to happen to our brains? We won't be able to compute anymore. But I found that there are courses that leverage calculators and there are courses that don't. But then there are those competencies of actually being able to like think logically and compute, et cetera. So my question to you, if a person's not interested because they feel like computers can do that and make my calculations, or a calculator can do that, what are those like competencies or sub-level skills that mathematics really prepares you for? One of it, as you were mentioning, is how you see the world. I think you see the world.
Very much.
You were just saying that's the one you just gave us already, but what are those other elements that people may not realize that being able to really pay attention to, or even have math as a focus of study, afford them? So give us a little bit of insight into that.
Well, the classic answer is it helps you think.
That's a big one.
That is indeed
what does
a
that
big
mean?
one.
What does that mean when you say it helps you think?
It gets you to question the why behind things. It gets you to say, you say that, what background do you have? What proof do you have? What examples can you show
That's
me
powerful. Okay.
besides just saying it? So it demands demands the facts there. As far as competencies go, as you get to know it, and some of the programs that we use, whether it's the calculator for graphing or two other free programs that we use are Desmos and GeoGebra.
Okay.
And we use those. There are classroom resources on them that help the student envision the changes that a little change in math can change the whole thing. Wow. And
they see those building blocks.
They can see how that little change creates a change in 3D space, or a change in how that picture comes across, whether you're making it like a funny face and elongating it. They can see that
Wow.
by what's going on in the mathematics. So realizing that small changes can have big effects and what those effects might be. So math is very, very concrete in that aspect. You know, we say, oh yeah, math is abstract and all. But there's a lot of application that really makes it concrete and real. So that's another aspect that I like about it, and something that we wanted to. As far as some of these AI things, it's just going to take us a while to get to incorporate them so we understand them better, so that we can use them as tools rather than just, oh my gosh.
Yeah,
So-
yeah.
There's some of that. I've looked over Mark Edelin's slides, and maybe I'll get a chance to talk with him later or go to his PD session later.
Wonderful. That's another
Yeah.
one of our wonderful faculty members here. She had mentioned Mark Edelman. This is, for me, and I don't know if my fascination is just because I love learning or because of how you communicated it, but this is super fascinating to really think about right now. The math that we have all around us and the math that we have access to, and the math sometimes sometimes it gets a bad rap, right? Oh, I have to do math. The way in which you're describing it as literally a window into the world and seeing the world from a different way, a new set of lenses, a new kind of like frame of thinking, and being able to understand that, like the nuances of like how one little tiny piece can domino and cascade, like the butterfly effect of it. So I think that's really exciting. The programs that you're going to share something more about
Yes,
that?
there's something else too, and that is, I think it's very exciting, and we do get to explore it a little bit in the honors. I do bring it into my regular classes as well, and that is that things are still being discovered in math.
And people don't realize that part, right?
That part is like, okay, math, 2 and 2 is 4, and that's done.
Right.
In mathematics, our division does a lot of presentations at AFACT, at national conferences like AMATIC, local one, MAMATIC. These are American and Maryland Association of Two-Year Teachers of 2 years colleges. But we talk about, there are things being discovered about circles. There are things, and you can see my little props here.
Yeah, wonderful. Can I pick one up myself?
Oh, sure.
There? Okay.
Sure. You can roll one and see how it rolls. Oh, no, it's not a spin. It's more of a
roll?
It's more of a roll.
Okay.
Right now, they're not rolling.
We're going to get one. I'm going to get one of these to roll.
There it goes.
Oh, there we go. So what's this? There's some kind of math behind this roll.
There is indeed.
And I have a yellow circle that's kind of like a spiral. For those of you who are listening, it's like a spiral / how would you describe this?
It is called a sphericon.
There we go. There's some technical name for it.
If you look at it edge on.
Edge on, okay.
You may see, if I'm looking at it like this, it looks like a hexagon.
Okay.
Okay? Mm-hmm. And yet it rolls, and it's called a sphericon. And
it rolls to its own pattern.
It wiggles back and forth.
If I may, earlier you said it gets to the same, many different paths to get to the same thing, right?
Yes.
Am I drawing the right connection there?
Well, yes, that's one you can draw. Not an intended one,
intended one.
Yeah, that works. So, yeah, and that's one of the things we look at. There are new shapes being invented.
So I haven't seen this. I've been in school for a long time. This is a newer shape that's.
Oh yeah, this was invented. I want to say in the 90s, but we have even more shapes that have been invented more recently.
So what goes? This is off script. Well, all of this is what goes into making a shape, because just for the viewers to know, those parents, guardians, students, interested learners, this is what's behind creating new shapes. Math, right? It's a mathematical. Yeah. So what goes? If you can just walk us into like what goes into making a new shape, because it's mathematical equation. I'm sure.
Oh, they looked at things that were. if you measured it across,
Okay.
it would always be the same distance across. So if you look at this, or you like
Yeah,
the
no,
yellow one.
yeah.
If you look at it, it's always the same distance from one side to the other.
So that's a staple feature
Right.
or component or whatever you would call it, right?
Of this thing.
Okay, okay.
And then they said, okay, and how do we make it three-dimensional so it will roll?
Okay.
And that's how they got it. If you notice it, it's two pieces which have been glued together, and one of them looks like a part of a can, and then it goes up to a top, and then it goes down, so it's a cylinder,
Uh-huh.
and then it goes up to a top and down to a point.
Fascinating.
And the other half of it is the same, but they're turned at 90 degrees.
Okay. Wow.
So that has made a new shape.
You know, what's exciting about a new shape is a new possibility, right?
That's
a new
right.
application, is that part of or are some folks just interested in the shape and not necessarily
Some people are interested in just the shape.
just the shape?
But Mazda and the Wankel engine, that was built on something called Rouleau's triangle, which
Okay.
is a triangle where all across from the two sides is always constant. But it's not a circle. But if you put it between two bars, it will roll up and down.
But it's not a circle.
It's not
and
a
people
circle.
think that only circles
They think that only circles are the
are
same
yeah.
distance.
Yeah.
And so the Wankel engine is something that Mazda is still using. It's used in race cars
Wow.
because it's more even so burning than the piston engine.
And I can't help but think that, and this is such a really great connection point that you've drawn for us here, that as we continue to evolve and technology moves at such a faster rate, we need more. We'll need more shapes and we'll need more means to actually catch up with where we're going. Is that
That's
a
right.
correct kind of a direction of thinking in
Yeah,
that regard?
sometimes they come from, just an abstract thought. Okay, somebody dared somebody else. Can you,
Can you create something like this, right?
can you create something that has only one stable resting point? And that was a bet. In fact, it was invented about 10 years ago or so now. And it's called a Gumbach.
Gumbach, okay.
Gumbach.
Okay.
Umlaut. And
So
it
different
is
language there.
it is now used for delivering insulin. A very, very tiny one is ingested. It has insulin in it. It will always land because it only has one resting place, one stable resting place. It will always land with its bottom down, adjacent to a person's stomach, and then it will deliver insulin as the person needs it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
It is also being considered for drones or to explore extraterrestrial planets because it would always land the right side down.
Right.
So
Right.
something that was abstract 10 years ago, and people explored all kinds of things, rocks on the riverbank and all that. They did find it very similar to the shell of a turtle. So think of a turtle, what happens when it gets on its back. And so it's big and flat on one side, and it kind of comes to a point on the other side.
Wow.
So it can roll over and always land right side up or right side down.
Amazing. That reminds me when I was, and I want to ask you some questions about the programs and courses.
Okay, yeah, because
It reminds me of when I became interested in math. I think logically, but I don't have the 10,000 hours of mathematical computational. I probably could be really good. I just didn't. So out running around. Sacred geometry or something. I don't know if it was called, but I was learning about this geometrical shapes and how they're like behind many things in reality. And like I learned about the golden mean and, so I became like super fascinated. And had I been exposed to that in like a certain order or at a certain time in my life, I probably would have gone down a rabbit hole. So I just think I really do appreciate it's really fascinating. So you have other shapes here before I get
have
into your
other
program.
things, too.
Talk to me about those. Is this another item?
This is something else, yes. This is 4 blocks that are joined.
Okay.
And this was for a STEM event. You can tell it's well used.
Okay.
It was for a STEM event. The math division went to a lot of STEM events back before the pandemic, and I imagine as they start up again, we will again. And on this side, it says STEM, and on the other, there's our dragon.
Okay.
So it's a little, sure, it's a little fidget
Okay.
for students to play with.
Let's see here, where am I in the camera here? I'm doing. So
Yeah.
I'm looking at this. So I'm just what you just did, what Dr. T just did for me. It's if you look here, that shows you the organizing principle or whatever. I don't even know if that's even technically how you say it. But then
And turn it over, and it says STEM. Yep.
you have to. It's like a Rubik's cube of. But not with all of those other layers. It's not going to take you
Yes.
without the hours.
It's
What is this referred to as?
Just a fidget,
A fidget.
something to play with.
But there's math
Yes,
behind
there's
this.
math
Talk
behind
to me
it.
about the math underneath creating such cool fidgeties like this.
Well, just the idea
sorry.
that there are different ways to position things, and that you can go and mix it up, and then come back. So, okay, ST. Well, that's not STEM, but we can redo it.
Wow.
And so sometimes, whether it's equations, whether it's...
Yeah.
I was working with a student yesterday, and we were doing an integration, and the student was saying, what do I do with it? I was like, well, we've got something outside of parentheses and something inside of parentheses, and I'm not seeing how to approach it like that. Let's multiply them through. Let's see it in a different light. And suddenly, the problem fell apart.
Wow. So this is wonderful. So helping students understand equations and formulas, sometimes these like physical real tools can help you serve as like a scaffold for that. Is that part of what?
It makes it a little bit more accessible
Yeah, that's
rather
really
than, with, trig functions and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, because that's so abstract for folks, right? Like you're saying.
But let's just revisit it.
Wow.
Here's the dragon, not working so well, not so dragony. And
reorder it.
Reorder it.
So if the equation's not working, reorder it, and there you go.
That's right. There you go.
Oh goodness! See, I remember I was 5th grade. I remember getting a D in math, and it was like a change because I thought I was so interested, but they didn't have any fidgeties around at that time, so I would have probably
maybe that would have caught you.
I would have been an astrophysicist right now. No, this is wonderful. That actually was one of the questions I was going to ask you. About and we'll go here before we get into the programs. What kind of methods do you use in your classes to actually teach, like instructional, learning science, instructional methods that you feel really help learners learn? You just shared one with me. I don't know if there's anything else to share that you really would lean into to help teach math.
I use visuals. I myself am an auditory learner. That's my what I lean toward, although certainly I work with visuals as well. I have my students take a math concept, and if they can put together a meme or some funny things. So one of the things my students have done last semester, if you saw one of the Spider-Man movies, and there are 3 Spider-Men, and there's one point where each one is pointing to the other 2.
Yeah.
And my student took that still and then put 3 equal concepts, one on each of the guys.
How engaging is that? That's pretty cool.
So then I put that up on my Canvas site for the whole class to see. I will do silly things like orthogonal. If I have a dot product that's orthogonal, it means that the vectors meet at 90 degrees and the dot product is 0. Well, maybe you heard 0, orthogonal, product. There's also cosine in there. And the word orthogonal has quite a few O's in it. So I will do like a crossword puzzle using all of those words together.
Oh, wow. Okay.
spelling is not one of my strong suits.
Okay, it's the other
So-
side of the brain, right?
So I will do rhymes like to spell parallel, Parallel. And so it sticks a little bit harder in my brain, and maybe in the students' brains too. So many techniques, lots of physical stuff, whether it's playing with fidgets, maybe it's stacking tissue boxes to get one sitting outside of the tabletop and seeing if I can stack. Oh, can I get one so that its inside thing is hanging off the table? And that proves something in Calc 2.
I love
So-
the way in which your way of teaching it goes automatically to application, like how it shows up in the world, because the abstract is important in terms of like what's it theorizing and postulating and all that stuff. I remember a little bit of my math, but when it comes to how you're making it accessible, it's pretty awesome. I've seen these books and I love them. And I don't know what they're called, but it's like the ones where you
It's
draw.
a flip book.
Flip book. There we go. I was going to give it some technical names. All my years of playing with flip books and making my own, I used to make them with stick figures that used to do
Oh.
karate. I've never thought about math and flip books until this very moment. And that's a little bit of it's a little disappointing for me. So, but I'm very excited right now. So this is math that goes in, and it makes sense to me right now. But for the person who doesn't understand the math in a flip book, how would you explain that?
Well,
Or the way in which the flip book can help, teach
well,
math.
it's really two things. This is really hard to get, but what happens is that we have bees turning into fish, turning into birds on here. How very little variation. Again, we were looking at and how when you put all of those together, it makes a big change. This was also here to allow me to plug one of the division's programs, which is to help students combine some of their classes so that they can get to their degree or credit credentials faster. We have Dr. Willis talked about the co-requisite, and we have the 073 and the 143. So that's a transition course and pre-calc 1, so that the students can better be prepared for calculus. But maybe they're a little weak in some of the things. Maybe you've heard students don't fail. It's not the calculus they fail, it's the algebra they fail. So
heard that
073
before.
strengthens them in the algebra before they just before. It's just in time teaching. So they take those two courses together. It's 5 credits rather than individually it would be 6 credits. But they do it in one semester. They may have the same teacher or team teachers, again, collegiality. And that way they can get to their whatever they need for their degree faster. We also put together pre-calc 1 and pre-calc 2 in one semester. Again, it's 5 credits rather than 3 and 3. And that allows them to take the pre-calculus together
Oh, wonderful.
and then move on to calculus.
This is really great to know. So tell me a little bit more about your program. So if you can kind of, a student can come, can they pursue an associate's in math and then transfer to another institution?
Oh, yes,
And
we
then
have some.
You can tell us a little bit about that, and then where might they go? Or if they wanted to stop, and say, hey, I have my associate, you're just going to talk to us a little bit about the programs and what might be next for a student.
Well, as you probably know, mathematics is one of the highest hires
Yes,
in bachelor
I'm glad
degrees.
that you brought that up. Yes.
They figure if you can do math, you can do
Right.
anything.
Because of everything you stated, if you can see the world in this way and think in that way, and the questions and the why, all of what you've evidenced today.
So we have a number of students who are math majors. It is not a big major. It's not a big program, but we
Okay.
do have a number. And they could go on to College Park. They might go on to UMBC. Some of them dabble in doing a double major, as with engineering or computer science.
Those are the sciences. Okay.
But because they have their math, they have that added piece. They understand the manipulation of the numbers. They understand some of the things that are going on, and that makes it them even more valuable.
Okay.
So, yes, we have a number of students. And if they're interested in doing that, that also allows them to do some undergraduate research.
Research, yeah.
So
yeah.
we have a number of students. Some of the activities they can do, they can analyze a game strategies. So that plays into their fun time as well as doing some academic stuff. They learn how to read academic papers in JRIP, and you can see we've got our latest 2 issues here of JRIP.
Oh, yes. I got to pull that out here. If that's okay.
Please do. That's our 4th edition, and this is our 5th edition.
You're the first to bring me gifts. You brought me these.
Oh, yeah.
And some 3D glasses as well.
Those are our glasses from the solar eclipse.
Oh, from the solar. Okay, which
Yes.
is okay. Make sure to cover the touch
We
on
did
that.
take some students to the solar eclipse.
So these are the Journal of Research in Progress
at HCC.
at HCC,
yes.
which we refer to as JRIP. I'll show you both of these here, which was so excited when I came on board and I found out. I'm like, we have undergraduate research journals. It's just,
Yep.
Some 4-year institutions don't have this, or not. I
That's
won't say
right.
some, many, or most.
Right.
So it's pretty impressive. But continue. I'm sorry.
So for students interested in going on and pursuing math, we encourage them to take part in some of the honors programs because they get exposed to some of those ideas, to some of the things that, what would happen if we took our regular rules about algebra, but we just changed one of them? Then that changes the whole world as far as what predictions are made and so forth. Maybe you use your mathematics to analyze a game. We have a number of times done that. What if we're looking at probabilities? We can look at that. So we ask the students to stretch a bit. And
What's it all about?
well, so they get used to it, because they're definitely going to be asked that when they get to the 4-year. We teach them a little bit about number theory and discrete, about knaves and knights problems, where knaves only tell falsehoods and knights always tell the truth.
Oh, wow.
And how to work out the logic so you can tell who's who. So, yeah, there's a lot that we do.
It's pretty amazing. And as we close out here, to ask you, make the statement and then ask you if you have anything else to provide. It's interesting because there's obviously a mental muscle that you're really training and working, the learners towards, which, as you mentioned earlier, many people want to hire a person who's had a math, training or a math degree or what have you. So I just find that pretty interesting. Is there any? There's tons. I think we could do like a 2-hour long. So fascinating. What are, if you were to share anything else about your program, anything else about taking math courses at HCC that you had not shared? But you just kind of run through. You have a few minutes to run through anything else that you like to include, because I know that you're interested out there. I'm interested, and I told myself no more school. So, but if you can share with us, Dr. T.
I would say, let me plug one of the things that we have here at HCC,
Okay.
which is Math Appreciation Week.
Oh, okay.
And it's going to be the week of March 20th this year. And it is loaded with contests and puzzles and all kinds of things. We have speakers. We have puzzles every day, Monday through Thursday, with Friday. The morning after we award prizes and tell you the answer of the previous day's puzzle. We have a scavenger hunt. So we ask you to go around and look for things like parallel lines or parallel planes.
That's fun. Yeah.
Perpendicular lines, maybe perfect circles or ellipses. We have a contest on Wednesday, March 22nd.
Wednesday, March 22nd.
And the previous administration used to offer a big prize to the winning student team.
Hint,
So,
hint, right?
hint,
Well,
hint.
I will. I don't know what I'm committing to, but I'm.
The big
I'm
prize
motivated
was
to have
$1,000.
Okay, let's have a conversation about that. Let's continue it.
For
You got me on.
a
You have
team
me on
of
radio
four.
now,
Yeah.
or television or whatever.
We also
That's
have
exciting.
a speaker
Okay.
on the 23rd, Thursday the 23rd, that we would encourage classes to come to. It's about math and green, green science, green health, green, being green, and all that we can save, both for the environment but also economically by being mindful of things like that. Math is really good at going out and we promote ourselves to the community at large. We do Girl Power, we do STEM events, as I showed here, and that's really an enthusiasm too, that we get to share some of the cool things we do. I want to say that the math does use OERs a lot. We're very conscious of the cost of math textbooks.
And that's online educational resources.
OERs.
That are free of cost.
There is usually a cost associated with the homework system,
Oh,
which
right.
gives immediate feedback. But we work to using OERs, online educational resources, so that's online textbooks. And we also use other programs like GeoGebra or Desmos as graphing calculators, and they are free apps as well for students. Let's see. We're working with the high schools. We moderate this is my other prop over here.
Okay.
We moderate competitions that the high
the
schools have
Mathematics League.
8 times a year. And our faculty go out to the high schools and we read the problems book beforehand. We've checked the answers, make sure they're complete and accurate and all of that good stuff. And then we teach a lot of students from Jump Start. Often they're the ones who come here and may even graduate from here before they graduate from their high
A
school.
dual enrolled student, yeah.
Yeah.
So if you know a high school student in the area, they could be in Dr. T's class and be engaged in all these wonderful ways. That's really
I
exciting.
have several.
You have several.
I have several, yeah. We also teach MATLAB. MATLAB is an industry standard programming.
MATLAB.
Not really programming language. It's a tool that's used by engineers and mathematicians and computer scientists all over. And we teach that in our classes, our upper level classes as well. So there's an awful lot. Tutoring, I would say, is something, again, the collegiality, if we're coming full circle. Circle math. Tutoring, we offer it, encourage the students, and it benefits, having talked to both tutors and tutees, it benefits the tutee because they're getting it, and they're often getting it from a faculty member or a student who is familiar with it. But our students, in being the tutors, they learn a lot. I'm sure you've experienced with that's why it works.
So
In
another layer
explaining it to someone else, you get that, oh, wow. And so
That's exciting.
it is exciting for them. So they really like doing tutoring. The pay isn't bad either.
Yeah,
So-
they get paid for it. And this has been just so wonderful for me, Dr. T, because I have learned a lot about, even you, we've seen each other before, but about your approach. And the name of the show is The Love of Learning. And the love definitely comes through. We hadn't used the word. I've just used it twice.
Yeah.
It's come through in terms of from the the non-tech tangible to the leveraging of technology to the mental kind of reframing that you have folks do around math and how it's literally in everything, to the programs and all of these wonderful ways that we're engaged into the community. The faculty members are engaged. It's been really exciting to learn about all that math is here at HCC. So students wouldn't be just coming here just taking a class; they'd be part of like a ecosystem. No, I'll say a sphere. Yeah, right. They'd be
Okay.
part of a sphere. See, I'm with you here.
Yeah.
That I really think is dynamic. So I really appreciate your time, and I'll give you a moment to turn to the camera and say one last thing about your love of math or the love of learning as it relates to your subject, or anything you want to share before I close out.
Oh, one thing that's really hard.
Or a sentence. I don't know.
Yeah, math was my first love, and as I study it more, I guess maybe this button associates it, and that is genius. I'm not claiming to be a genius,
Genius
but
at play.
it is fun to play with, and I enjoy doing that. I enjoy working with my students. It's all good, and putting it all together, I get to do it teaching. So I really like that, and the support that HCC gives is really important to me too.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. T. I really appreciate it. Hopefully you can feel the energy. I'm really excited about this interview. Thank you all for tuning in. And speaking of genius, I'm going to close on that. It's professors like Dr. T that help you find your unique genius, and that's what we're about here at Howard Community College. And that's what the love of learning is. It's really understanding the different programs and understanding the different faculty members that are able to help you get there from here, part of our model here at HCC. So thank you for tuning in to The Love of Learning. I'm your host, Dr. Carl S. Moore, and thank you so much, Dr. T, for joining us.
You're
And
very
we'll see you
welcome.
next time.
Okay, bye-bye.